You found some definitive differences in the ways that we innovate. And let's compare and contrast some of the traditional ways of innovation versus some of the newer ways that you found.
Let's start with the notion of traditional. For the time that they were most popular, a lot of the traditional tools that we use in business and even in innovation were perfectly suited. And I think of it in an analogy like being trained in Napoleonic warfare and then being charged with somehow getting drone warfare to happen. You know, they're not going to march the way that we expect them to. And so that's the same with business. We are not able to use the tools, the traditional tools like forecast models, benchmarking, the competitive analysis where we look only within our industry. Why? Because things are much more disruptive now. And it's just as likely that if I'm Nikon, I'm going to be competing with an iPhone as opposed to just competing with Polaroid, Kodak, or Canon. And so the traditional way of doing our peer-to-peer competitive analysis, Six Sigma, where we were trying to take efficiency in every process, those are really great tools, but they're not sufficient for the different nature of today's business.
So let's compare and contrast some of the traditional methods with some of the new methods. One of the first would be we used to try and predict what happens next.
So instead of predicting, what we want to do is be responsive. We need to train our organizations to be really nimble. And instead of trying to have a perfect forecast, we want to be responsive to the information that we see. The other piece of this is being able to use a cross-industry lens so that you look not only if you're a company in the automotive industry, don't just look at autos, but if you're OnStar, for instance, you might look at other companies that are tracking data. So for instance, a home security company that is also providing peace of mind to people through their smartphones. Intersections is also a talent that people within a company need to start to hone. So the ability to intersect X plus Y to get a Z is critical. So for instance, if we're trying to improve our customer impact and we're an insurance company, we don't just look at other insurance companies. We might look at something like Zappos and think, you know, how do they get such great customer satisfaction scores? So you don't just look at your own peers. You actually have to master the cross-industry talent, being able to be competitive through that.
I'm reminded a bit about how Disney would look at competitors who did a portion of their business better than they did it. At the time, they used call centers, and they were very interested in how LL Bean ran their call centers because they were considered the best in the business in terms of customer experience on the phone.
That is a perfect example. And if you think about it, if you take your business and you use these 6 elements we talked about, and you say who is really excelling in each of these, it might be that you get 6 different answers. So if you're Disney, and in terms of the processes, you know, the call center, it's LL Bean. In terms of the fun factor, the brand, it might be a food company, you know, an ice cream. If it's the people and the talent, it might be something like Teach for America. You know, how do you combine maybe 6 different ideas into one vision of what could be next?
In the past, we talked about core competencies. What's today's way of looking at that?
So the problem with thinking of core competencies is that it's such a fixed concept. I am good at this. What we have to do now is be really good at what I call emergence. So I am good at this and. So I am good at this and our customers seem to be heading toward this other. So I am really good at providing a high-dollar dining experience with a white tablecloth. Our customers have stopped coming back for that because of maybe more challenging economic times.
Well, or the people in our income range are younger and don't expect that.
Exactly, or don't want any kind of dining experience without an iPad in front of them, or anything else that we observe, so that we have to be really good at citing emergence. You know, what is the next thing that they're looking for, and being ahead of that. And it's not as easy as saying we are good at this as a fixed core competency. Our core competencies have to start to be much more toward morphing. We have to morph, we have to evolve to keep up with an evolving market need.